Good morning, Cathedral kids. So, last week we learnt about Abraham, about how God spoke to him and that he listened and did what God asked. We learnt that God made an amazing promise to bless Abraham and all of the people in his family and all of the families that were to come after him for hundreds and hundreds of years. We learnt that Abraham looked forward with great hope in his heart to see what God would do. This week, we meet a new character for today's Advent story. Today's story is about a man called Isaiah. Now, Isaiah lived a long time after Abraham. There were now hundreds and thousands of Abraham's family living as God's special people. But there was a bit of a problem. Not all of them were living in the way that God wanted them to. Like Abraham once did, following God, trying to please him. Instead, they weren't really listening to God. They got into a few bad habits of doing whatever they thought was best, ignoring God and doing their own thing, which often went badly wrong. As we all know, that the best plans for our lives are the ones that God has for us, and the best way to live is his way. So this is where Isaiah comes in. God gave him a very special job to try and help his special people to get back on the right path. Isaiah had decided that he didn't want to live for himself. He wanted to do things God's way. And God saw this and gave Isaiah a mission. God would ask Isaiah to tell the people to turn back to living God's way. Isaiah would even have a special title, a prophet. But being a prophet was a very difficult job. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried to get somebody to do the right thing, maybe at school, when one of your friends is being mean to someone, and you know that is not the best way to behave. It can be really hard. And Isaiah found it very difficult. People didn't want to listen to him. But the thing about Isaiah was that he kept going. He kept telling people how wonderful God's way was, how much better it was to live a life for God. And do you know what? God gave Isaiah some really special words about a person coming in the future who would be a servant king, be a light for the nations, a person who would bring hope and peace. God gave Isaiah special words about a special man who would speak up for God and shine brightly for God. I think we can all learn an awful lot from the prophet Isaiah.